All right. Meeting's called to order. First item is accentuate the positive. Shauna?
Hey, good evening, sir, Chair Campbell, and the rest of the board. So great to see all of you. Shauna Schleif, principal here at Phoenix Elementary. It's great to be back here again. I have a little list that I'd like to share. First of all, I just like to say that this has been the best start of the year ever. Like everything is just, I can't describe all of the things, but just I wanted to express that it's been a really wonderful jump start to the year and everybody's feeling really calm. There's a lot going on, but it just feels really positive, energetic, and lovely. Want to give a shout out to Pam Ward. She's our instructional coach, and she's been doing a lot of support behind the scenes to help with our curriculum adoption. And we've had some hiccups with materials not getting here, and she's just doing a lot of copying, checking in with staff, and just being there to support people. So I wanted to give her a big shout out. Also want to give a shout out to Anna Redding. She came in during in-service to share with our teachers all about Power School and how we're doing our new standards-based report card. And so we had to learn some systems in that. And so she did all of the training for all of the elementary schools, middle school, and the high school. So we want to thank her for that. And then also I've been working a lot with Carrie McDonald, our nurse, and she's just been so impressed with all of the delegation of duties. And so she sent me the list, and I just wanted to recognize these people in all of the schools who are delegated with nursing tasks, who are doing a phenomenal job of making sure our students are safe. So at PES, that's Christy Dixon and Tiffany Nunez. At Orchard Hill, that's Ted Bennett and Tara Jones, and BJ Matheson and Holly Tamplin. And at TMS, that's Julie Lockett and Misty Hutzel. And at PHS, that's Maria Thompson and Janet Guttridge. And then at TES, that's Cheryl Joseph. So just want to give them a big shout out. And yeah, that's it from PES.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brandon Hammond, Orchard Hill. And just to echo that, huge shout out to our instructional assistant or instructional coach, Lori Evans. Paper cuts galore. She's talked about that just so much. And this is more a kudos to our students. So over the past week and a half, I've just noticed some students maybe not sharing as much as they should about being bullied or threatened or just not feeling safe. And so we did a quick assembly the other day, and I shared a story of these two brothers who were going rock climbing, and they got to a point in the climb that they just couldn't go any higher. And the older brother had to physically lift the younger brother up so the younger brother could then get on the crest and pull himself up. And then the older brother's like, hey, go get help. The older brother was barely hanging on, and he just did not want his younger brother to be there if he were to fall. And he knew he just wasn't going to make it. So the older brother's like, all right, go. Waited a few minutes. He's like, all right, I'm going to just jump with all my might. And the older brother jumps, and he gets on the top, and he starts to slip. And who is there but his little brother, grabbing him, strength beyond his own, pulls him up. And I shared that with the students just to relate that as a staff, we are there to help them. We are there to help them be safe, feel comfortable, but they just have to let us know what's going on. And it really was good because now we're starting to see a little more self-advocacy. We have a regulation room, and students are saying, hey, I need to go in there for a few minutes. And it just really is a beautiful thing. And just, I love the program that you guys have started here. Unheard of in all the schools. The amount of support we have for the students is amazing. And I just want to give a shout out for you guys starting. Thanks, Heather.
Good evening, Chair Campbell and board. Heather Lowe from Talent Elementary. I'm going to echo the echo about our instructional coach. They've been working so hard to really make sure teachers feel supported. So thanks to Corinne Calhoun at our building for her support with Amplify. I also want to share, I was telling Don and Michael when I first arrived, we just got news today, Tiffany and I, that Talent Elementary has a new grant we just received through Kid Time to have a preschool. So we are super excited, and we're going to do whatever it takes to get that opened up soon. So that's a great 20 spots, they said, and a potential of 20 more. So we're going to find space here, I think. That would be smart. Also, would like to just recognize Ken Lehman, Officer Lehman from Talent PD. He's been at school every morning for arrival and dismissal, and just hearing lots of positive feedback about his presence. And then also want to publicly recognize Janelle and her students, because the busing is actually working as intended and planned this year. And we're like, you know, when school was starting, we're like, what's going to happen? And it's just been smooth like butter. It's been good stuff. So just appreciative of Janelle and her team and the drivers who are advocating for our kids and taking really good care of them. And then last but not least, last time we were here together, I shared that we would be having our family engagement event at the end of the month. So that's coming up, and you'll see that posted on our websites. Thanks to Joe. So it goes Orchard Hill on the 27th, us on the 28th, and then Shauna on the 29th. And so these are kind of our redesigned elementary fall family nights where we'll have some training for families. So if you can make any one of those, we'll send you the invitations, but it would be great to get your feedback and have your presence at those. I know, Michael, you'll be attending as a daddy so that you can give us some feedback. But we're really excited, and teachers are really thinking about how to empower the families to work alongside us in our schools. So that's it from talent. Mr. Sanji.
Good evening, board. Aaron Santi. Just a few things. The year has started off well at Phoenix Talent Rising. I got the note that through 7 days of school so far, we've got 98% attendance, which is a great improvement for us. We were struggling a little bit last year, and that's been a point of emphasis for us. So we're excited about that. Secondly, we started our Talent Maker City hand tools woodworking elective today over at Talent Maker City. So that was very cool. We're appreciative of that partnership. And also I want to give in conclusion, a shout out to our ELD staff. You don't normally think of August and September as assessment time, but we're already doing state assessments, and those assessments right now are ELPA screener assessments. And so at each school, our ELD coordinators and ELD assistants are testing students who are coming into the district for eligibility purposes. So that's something that happens behind the scenes. You don't normally hear about, but that's important information for us and important to get those kids identified and services if they qualify. So I want to give a shout out to those guys. So Talent Middle School.
Thank you. Wait for the camera. Good evening. Nice to see everybody. First off, I want to also recognize Sergeant Lehman, who has done a great job of also showing a good presence over at Talent Middle School. Sorry, my name is Catherine Holden. I'm the principal of Talent Middle School. So yeah, Sergeant Lehman has been a great presence. He also did a great training the other day for our staff around some of our safety procedures and protocols. And so it felt good to start the year, making sure everybody's on the same page. And he's also had some great ideas about traffic. And it sounds like there's even today, he said there's a grant that went through that's going to support us to be able to move that crosswalk. Oh, is it still? There we go. The crosswalk, it'll take, but it will be oriented in a way that's going to support the traffic flow a lot better. So we're excited about that. Also, just a big shout out to all of our teachers. Really, they've been out in the halls during transitions, during beginning of the school day, welcoming kids, friendly faces, high fives, really making it a positive place as kids are entering the building. And in particular, Rich Hobbins, his classroom got moved this summer. And so now he's really literally, I would say, in the heart of the school. And it's the perfect place for him because he is there every morning with either maybe some hockey gloves of some kind. I'm not sure what those are, but he's welcoming kids and making them feel welcome with his special props and stuff like that. So, and then last but not least, I did want to also thank our instructional coach, Jamar Board, for all the work she's doing, but also specifically her and Julie Stinson have been teaming up to really think about our social emotional learning and lessons right now and making sure that we're starting off strong with those as well. And if you want to fill your whole week that week, you can come see us at our back to school night, which is Monday the 26th, prior to those other three that are the following night. So we look forward to seeing you there if you can make it.
Hi, everyone. Kaylin Cross, principal at the high school. There's a lot of echoing going on, which I like being at the end for that purpose sometimes. First, I want to say I would agree with Shauna when she said that this year it just feels different. I know that I'm new to the district, but in all of my years in education, I was actually telling Heather before the meeting, it just feels eerily calm, and not in a bad way, but just like it's only the second week of school, but it feels like we've hit these rhythms that normally we don't hit until maybe October, the beginning of October or late in the month. And so that's phenomenal. And we were able to welcome new students, both our incoming freshmen and our brand new students to the district. You know, we asked for an extension from a half day to a full day to do that. And it was phenomenal. Carolina Campbell is our staff member who oversees our link crew. And that's where two junior and senior students lead groups of freshmen and mentor them, get them tied into the community and give them a real sense of belonging. And so we kicked that off, and that was great. We're already planning our next meeting with them. We're hoping to have a tailgate at homecoming for freshmen and our link crew. So just really working on making sure they are feeling welcomed and like they have a place to belong, which we know is really important. Additionally, our leadership students welcomed brand new students to the district in a shorter sense, but kind of an orientation, walking through their classes and making sure that they had kind of a buddy to check in with the next couple of days. And we know that that was really important and went off really well. Some other stuff that we think was really great. We were able to have our advisory class, which normally meets once a week. We were able to have it every single day last week, and got really solid on some expectations and just making sure that teachers felt confident in some of our school-wide practices. And so as teachers, that really made all the difference and made them feel like they were able to spring forward with some curriculum stuff right after that. We also have an open house event on Monday, this next coming Monday, because you know the following week was all filled up. And we are actually doing that a little bit differently as well. Traditionally, families grab their student schedule and walk through their classes, but we wanted to make sure that we were also offering an opportunity to empower families. And so we asked our staff to think about breakout sessions that they might want to teach about. And so we have 2 breakout sessions that are happening. Families are going to come, we're going to barbecue, feed them, mingle, and just create a sense of community. And then we'll have 2 20-minute breakout sessions for families to choose to attend. And so those range anywhere from like, what is Power School for parents and how do I get tied in, all the way to like, hey, you think you want to be an FFA? Come on over, we'll teach you how to do it. Or hey, maybe you want to help with one of our grade level floats for the homecoming parade, right? And tying people into those different things. And so we're really excited about seeing how that goes. And you are welcome to come. We'll feed you and you can attend some of our breakout sessions. And that's all from us.
Good evening, Phoenix Talent Board, and thank you. Amy Hans, food service here, and I guess I'll stick with the echoing and saying, you know, start of the school year, a lot of chaos and getting the kids through the salad first instead of just serving the fruits and veggies, and getting the kids getting used to putting in their student IDs in the secondary level schools. It's actually going really smoothly. I spent the first week at the high school where Caitlin made me a honorary Phoenix Talent School Rising member. And I'm spending this week at the middle school, and it's just been great to see the kids and see them getting used to the new norm. So it's going really great in food service. Thank you.
Thank you all. Any more? Accentuate the positives. If not, I have one. So Heather alluded to this, but we have a new kindergartner this year in our family, and Nora, she goes to Orchard Hill. And I'm sure many of you may remember the first day of kindergarten, dropping off your kids. But I just want to commend the staff at Orchard Hill, because from the moment we arrived on campus, we felt welcomed, we felt informed, we felt supported, and that sense of belonging that you talk about. And I'm sure that's true of Phoenix and Talent as well. But I just wanted to commend you and thank you, Brandon, your staff, everybody from the teacher assistants to the teachers themselves, everybody who was there. Just did a phenomenal job. I also want to give a shout out to parents, because as someone who walks their kid to school every day, I see somehow, I don't know how we do this, we get hundreds of kids dropped off in 15 minutes. And it's just amazing. And so the parents are very efficient. They have it down to a science, but they also drive very carefully through the parking lot. I appreciate that. So thank you to our parents as well. It's been a lot of fun and she's loving it. So just want to thank you for everything. So, all right, awesome. Oh yeah, I'm in charge. I gotta keep this thing moving here. Let's see. Okay. Citizens' comments. Do we have anybody online? Doesn't look like it. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak before the board? Okay, we'll move on. Superintendent report.
Thank you, Chair Campbell. I just want to share again the appreciation to this team, and I've shared many times in the last couple of weeks that in 26 years is the best start to any school year. No matter what my role was, it just feels good if you enter our schools, if you see drop off and pick up, it just feels really good. And that doesn't happen just by happenstance. That's intention, that's being strategic. So thank you to this team. Also want to just quickly mention, enjoyed setting up meetings with individual board members. I know we have them scheduled coming up, and I was with Nancy and Sarah earlier this week. And it's just a great time to just kind of chat and have a good discussion. So I look forward to meeting with all of you, and thanks for scheduling those. Finally, I just want to share that we went to a workshop today, and thank Rosario and Laura as well for joining Mr. Santi and myself. And I know Tiffany Lambert's heavily involved in this. ODE and the ESD are setting up these workshops to help a program called Integrated Guidance to really streamline some reporting and how we work it as school districts and how we share that information with ODE. I think they got us to the meetings by saying there's 108 reports and we're going to try to consolidate them down to 8 to 10. So yes, please, we're in. Just tell us how. There's a lot more work to it than that. And today was all about family engagement. So I really appreciate the two community care with Laura and Rosario there as well. And I really look forward to hearing their report tonight. I know you will as well. That's all I have.
Any questions for Brent? All right, perfect transition for our program report from the community care team. Kelly?
I'm a little nervous about this contraption. So I feel very official, like I might be on a stage ready for a concert with.
If we can do it,
I'm
you
not
can do
gonna
it.
sing, don't
Yeah.
worry. And I'm not quite sure where to stand, so I'm gonna go over here. Thank you, Chair Campbell on the board. Thank you for having us. We're really excited to be here to share a little bit more about our community care program. We have a few slides for you. I'm gonna wander around until I figure out a good spot to be. I'm gonna start us off. Rosario, who you have met or heard of, will be sharing as well. And Laura is also here. Wasn't sure if she was gonna be able to make it, so she will share her contributions as well. And if you're interested in the slides, we can certainly share them with you after later on throughout the day or throughout the evening. Our community care project or community care grant is a collaboration with the state of Oregon, ODE. We are one of 4 districts in the state that have this wonderful opportunity. There is a very official name. We really like the name community care, but it is also a strengthening mental health and education initiative. So our project goals that you see up here first, you will see a great deal related to mental health. You'll hear throughout the evening a little bit more about training and opportunities to bring that capacity to our community care specialists and to our communities in different ways, and really thinking of unique and different ways that we serve mental health or support mental health, I should say, outside of what we traditionally think of in terms of counseling, therapy, support, group work. Really thinking about how we support mental health by eliminating barriers, reducing stress in a home, and helping navigate a process for families. I won't read you all of our goals, but that is the kind of the crux of what we set forth to do. Our vision within the Phoenix Talent Schools, you can move forward. I'll give you a sign. Yeah, with my microphone. Our vision, really, our PTS vision is really thinking about comprehensive system navigation for families. Families that are navigating complex systems have a host of barriers and challenges that many times feel overwhelming. And that in turn creates enormous stress in a home. It creates enormous challenges just to do the most basic of things, and obviously impacts the mental health of everyone in the home. So a great deal of our approach is really thinking about how we support the whole family. We have the benefit of working with youth in our schools, but we also have the benefit of creating relationships with our community. And through those relationships and through that community, we're able to support families in a host of ways, or that is our desire. That's our vision, to support them in a host of ways. One great benefit of which is meeting a need that they might have, an unmet need, and a greater benefit is reducing stress and therefore supporting mental health in a positive way. So this is our vision. I'm going to pass it off to Rosario to tell you a little bit more about the things we've been doing lately.
Yeah, so our team, most of us are here today. We have Kelly, who is the director of it. I'm Rosario Medina. I'm the community care coordinator. Katie McCormick couldn't be here today, but she is a community care specialist. And then Laura Millette is a community care specialist as well. All right, so what have we been up to? Trainings, tons and tons of trainings. It's to the point I want to go into my office, lock it, and work on the referrals. But I know it's like the first month of school. We need to figure things out so that way, we don't have tons of bumps later, but tons of trainings. Connecting with resources that are in our district. So before, it's like teachers, and I felt this a lot, it's like, oh, this family needs this, who do I contact? Our office manager knows stuff, our special ed teacher knows stuff. We have La Clinica here, and I know they're a family that fell through the cracks just because I did not have the time to research things for them. And so just connecting what we have in our district and creating a process that is more streamlined so our staff can focus on building relationships and teaching the kids. And then connecting with resources in our communities. Laura has so many resources that she's like, oh yeah, I know someone who can do that. I know someone who can do that. And Katie has been good as well as finding resources and events where we can make connections. And like I said, tabling events and getting the word out there to our families that we're here. Right. So this is one of the trainings that we have. Me and Laura have already taken it. Katie is taking it this week, Family Support Specialist Foundation. So if you have a child that you're working with who has a mental health illness like ADHD or depression or something like that, you can get certification for this. It is a 8-hour online training. It's 5 or 6 days. 6 days training, but so I was like, oh no, we're gonna have to sit here, stare at the screen, but it was really great. We had a great group, a lot of honest conversation, a whole bunch of different people at the table. There were administrators taking the training. We were there, people who were in all aspects of education. So we're able to kind of talk about how this role would fit, how we could all serve it. And and really just went through different scenarios, because the biggest thing is you guys pay us, but we're here to serve the families, right? So it's like the families, how do I want to say it? Like some families, they walk into a meeting with the principal and the teacher and them, and they feel like, oh, they're up here, I'm intimidated. We can be kind of like that bridge, like, no, they really do care. It's like, this is just how the things work out. And we really want to be here to support you. So, yeah. All right. So events in the community. Saturday, was it? No. Yes, Saturday. In the morning, we were at the Talent Community Commemorative Fair behind the City Hall. We made contact. So we sometimes forget to tally, but at least over 75 people and filled out 4 referrals there. And then Unity Through Community, which was moved to Phoenix High School. We made contact with over 100 people and filled out 14 referrals there. And so one of the biggest needs we found were a lot of families bought school clothes, but they didn't buy shoes. Well, when you think about it, $50 buys more clothes than shoes, right? So it's like if they have to make that choice. So that was one of the things. And then we found some other things that might be coming up. So families are like, we had several families who are like, we're finally getting stable housing, but all of those donation sites that have furniture and household items are gone. Is there any help out there? And we're like, oh, we didn't even think about that. So we're kind of like keeping that in our mind, like how can we serve them as they start getting stable housing just for those basic needs. Is it still me? Yes, it is. All right. So another vision that we have is creating a resource center. We would like one in each school, but I am grateful that I actually have room at Talent Elementary to start this. And so that's my little bulletin board outside. It's pretty bare right now. Heather has found me a couch that is all regulated, all up to code. So we're all good. So I'm going to add a couch here. I would like to get 2 little sitting tables or little sitting chairs to make it kind of homey. I envision this to be a place where we can do parent informational nights. Another option for IEPs, if you've ever been to an IEP, most of them at Talent Elementary are done in our little, I call it the interrogation room. It's very blank and dreary and claustrophobic. So I want it to be like a place where parents can come in and know we're really there to support them. The environment reflects that. So yeah, and then this little partition here, I have a little rising locker behind there and want to stock it up with a whole bunch of stuff can help our families. So yeah, your turn.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that Rosario's already referred to is referrals, and we kind of call it case management. This is something that is a work in progress. One of which is taking information that we already have to kind of create a watch list or a hot list around students and families that we might already know of that could use our support right away. So I called it hot lists here, but it could be like just a watch list or special care list. Attendance is often a reflection of something else going on. Obviously, displaced families or those that are still fire affected with unmet needs is another priority. Our school teams, especially at the elementary level with our EVIS teams or our multi level teams that are looking at all kinds of factors, can create referrals for us. And then we want a system where families can refer themselves, or teachers and staff members can refer. So this is kind of the work that we're doing right now. We do have a referral sheet that's in that we are adopting as different things come up. Katie did a great job of digitizing it and making it one that folks could reach more easily. We also, in part of this case management, are trying to be really intentional with partners in the community that are also doing this work. A great example is La Clinica, that we have just phenomenal relationships with and embedded in the community. And we really want to make sure that that in our effort to systematize navigation for families, we're not adding a layer that makes it more complicated, or families are getting called by multiple people through our referral system. So we have already established some communication with them. There are other agencies, Access and other agencies that we're really connecting with to try to make sure that the effort to streamline is really what we're hoping that's happening. You can turn. Some things that we'd like to do, visions are big, dreams are big, and we sort of feel like there's like no end to the opportunities that we have. So, dream big, why not, right? So we just spoke to this, but really streamlining that referral and trying to think about the family as the receiver and make sure that process is going well for them. Focusing on families who fall through the cracks, those that don't have enough resources or to advocate for themselves, really relying on the relationships in the community. One of the most important pieces of this community care work that is really like kind of a buzzword right now, that effort around community care is kind of a buzzword right now, but Laura and Rosario and Katie are embedded already in the community, and they're already people that have strong relationships and have trust in the community. And that's the best avenue for continuing this work, through that trust. So really focusing on the families, you can see that over and over again, and trying to establish ways to support the mental health through the other resources we can provide.
All right. So, me too, right?
It can be either one.
It can be either one. I'll take it.
How can you
Okay.
help?
How can you guys help us? So get the word out there to our PTS families. We are here to help them. We want to support them. Share a frequent needs list. We are developing one. We kind of want to see what the needs are, the first couple months, because what was it? There was an example I had where we're like, oh, that must be a need. And we're like, oh, no, that's not really a need. And then the household items came up and we're like, oh, we didn't even think that was a need. Like me and Katie were like, oh, we didn't even think that was a need, but that is a need. So, just think that we need that we can't necessarily get from outside organizations that might be a little bit harder. Listen for community needs, right? You're all in different roles in the community. Listen to what the community might need, what's coming up, what we should keep an eye on, and come visit us in our schools. Yeah. So this year is the first year we're like officially started, I think in August, right? So we're like brand new to this. So I like this quote to kind of define this year. So there is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. This is the year of discovering what our community needs. How can we help them? There's going to be bumps here and there, but we really want to be mindful and listen to what our families need. So that way they can feel supported and they can support their children. All right. And with that being said, thank you for listening to us. You can contact any of us with questions or comments. And do you have any questions right now?
I have a ton, but I'll turn it to you all first.
My question is the referral available online on the website?
I don't think it's on the website yet.
I don't think so either.
We will do that tomorrow. I'm sure Joe is listening right now.
Because that seems like if I'm looking,
Right. So that's why Katie did create that QR code to make it digital. It's actually a form that can be filled out now. In addition to a hard copy for somebody at a school office, for example. So we have the ready.
Yeah, and to be fair, she did just make it last Friday.
no, I just thought
We're flying.
I just thought if I was
Yeah.
needing to find something and I was starting to search, where would I find what I need to go to school? What I need, how would I find that? And I know that internet isn't always the best way, but if there is access that way. Thank you. I have a question and a comment. And I think okay.
Very scary.
It's on. I thank you. That was a really lovely presentation, super informative. It's exciting. I remember when I started to work for public health like a long time ago, we had like all these ideas and we kept calling them family liaisons. And like to see it here, tangible project or program that is doing this is super, super exciting. And I do appreciate that the referral forms, it's versatile, so it reaches multiple people. A lot of people have certain preferences on how they reach out and connect. Are you familiar with Unitas? And is the school going to be plugged? Are you going to enter referrals through there too?
We are. We just signed a partner agreement, I believe it's called, and we are officially onboarding with them on next Wednesday. We have our logins and the community care folks will all get training on it, but it looks like a really wonderful.
Right. As I was, it's great, but again, it's getting built as well. So it has really great potential and it's getting built, but just thinking of your question, you're right. You're wanting to create efficiencies. You're wanting to really support member or families at a broader range. And I think that the Unitas platform will be really, really helpful. And then connecting with traditional health workers will also be really, really valuable. And I'm not sure who you would connect with because not all of a lot of organizations have traditional health workers. And I know that you all have done some training, like there was a certification, I don't know, in slide 2 or 3. That might also be really helpful because it's a network. I mean, I know that we have the wonderful, incredibly efficient gem, Laura Millet, who is like the walking, breathing, talking traditional health worker for Phoenix Sound School District. which is really wonderful. And then how we can connect and really partner and leverage those resources, because it's just 3 of you.
Right.
And there's a whole lot of families with a whole lot of needs. So
Right.
I'm excited for this work.
Thank you.
Well, first I want to, there we go. Yeah. And yeah, it's funny because I got hired, I've been doing this for 35 years, and then I was hired, and then all these things that happening in my life that I'm doing back to so this is one of them that was like I was in the room for 5 years, see this happen. I got a coach at a full foundation, and they were having leadership, they were training for 9 days. And we wanted to go. It's like, okay, and I still told them, when you think about it, when you think about it, when you think about it, they told me, hey, we know how you work, and you know that you don't like to do stuff alone, you also want to take that partners, or, you're welcome to take, a family, a parent from your school. And I got to take one of the parents that, they were their 9 days for in the training for that next thing going on. And they give them empowerment, like giving to you, like say, yes, I'm a parent, I have my kids here, but I'm also being like, I'm a part of it. So very excited. We had a lot of fun, and we learned a lot. So, and then we're doing I'm sponsoring a senior project from somebody in New York. So she's sending me stuff. So use the power of this networking and really helpful. And then based on that, I had decided to go to bed. I was one morning with a parent for TV program that was going to be piloted here. Program. So it's amazing what everything everything from my I could joy, brain. I'm also connected with writing John with series. Social resources and stuff. I've been working with them for 2 years to do some getting some of the families. So they said, hey, we got a grant, so we can do more circles on Saturday, getting some of the families to work with. So it's amazing. Provide some of the things, but at the same time, you can't provide until it's settled before they start it. So we need to start, combining everything. So yeah, I'm very excited about the possibility to grow. It's a district. I also met partnering this summer that want to give us a grant in parts of it, but to get ready for they'll be paying for the talent for this system. Because my vision is to grow out of the class to the other. So thank you for
More questions?
I do have a question. Can you remind me again who the funding is coming from for this program? And then also, how long does that funding last? Is this a 1-year pilot? Is this for many years to come? What's happening with that?
We definitely have a 3-year opportunity. And recently there's word on an extension of that, which will likely take us to 5 years. I'm going to say likely not. So it's about $1 million over the first 3 years. And then this potential expansion. It's a partnership with the ODE is our sponsor really for the grant. And it's a grant that ODE received, federal mental health grant that ODE received, and then is dispersing it out to the 4 districts that are participating.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. I said I had a ton. That was probably a little scary of a phrase. I'm sorry. I have a few questions. So right now, I just want to get a sense for how are we identifying needs right now? How is that happening?
Yeah, so right now it's pretty much like you fill out the referral. So for example, at the tabling events, we're not asking for income. We're not asking for anything like that. We're trying to make it as, how do I want to say, not as much red tape, right? But at the same time, we don't want to be like Nancy said, we could have tons of families and that could be a lot on us. So it's like they get referred and then we see if they're an outside organization that can help them. So pretty much like I was explaining, we do the legwork because sometimes even for parents, well, when I had to apply for food stamps and WIC, it's a full-time job. And then to go and be told no, or even more insulting, you get $5 a month for taking 2 days off of work to fill out all this stuff. It's heartbreaking. So I can do the legwork. So then I can be like, hey, this is the best organization for you. This is all the paperwork you need. Let's go through what you have. That way you just go, you do what you got to do, you get the help you need, kind of thing. And then from there, anything that falls below the cracks, it's like we can help them with. But right now there's no like, you know, if, you know, we don't look at income, we don't look at documentation status or anything like that.
Yeah, I guess I just meant, how do you know if a student needs something?
Yeah. So
Oh.
in addition to referrals, because right now that's really new, right? And so it makes sense that that's going to be a slow process to get that going. That's one of the reasons we're using these other watch lists: attendance, teacher referrals, staff referrals, office folks that, you know, see kids come in and go out for different reasons are a great source of information. And then very gently and appropriately, our community care specialists will reach out, introduce themselves, say that they're, you know, we have a new program, a new support. You might be a student or family that could benefit from this support. That's a sensitive ask to be invited into the family in that way. But that's the reason for the watch lists or the school-based information right now.
Yeah, and going off of that, we also did during in-service week a training with our classified staff. I get classified certified messed up, which is kind of embarrassing. With our classified staff, and just talk to them about our program and let them know, you know, even though some of them might be SPED IAs or, you know, this IA, they're really everywhere, and they see things we don't see, right? The teachers like focus on at elementary level, like 30 kids, but they don't see the other ones, but they see everyone. And not only that, but they see them in all different places. So like an IA in the cafeteria may notice the kids not eating their lunch and ask, and they may be like, my teeth hurt, but they might not necessarily tell the teacher, right? So just also training our staff, like, what does it look like? You know, what kind of things to be aware of.
So do you feel pretty good about, I mean, I know this is all new and you're building it from scratch while also trying to serve families. And by the way, I just want to say, I love how you're thinking of all the new things, but you're looking at our existing systems and finding ways to make those better for families, like the IEP room and stuff like that. So that's great. So how do we feel about staff knowing that this exists and knowing that they have you as a resource to be able to connect with right now?
Yeah, so like I said, we did our
Little
forgot the word
intro
again.
sessions.
Yeah, our intro sessions during the PD week and during our what is it called? The Every Student Belongs. We kind of mentioned it at that time as well, and during staff meetings. Eventually, we've talked about doing kind of the intro we did with classified with certified staff as well, so that way they're aware of like all the information, but everyone's aware of it if they don't know every little detail, but they know we're here. They know we're here to serve families. And even though we're based in the elementary school, I'm also kind of keeping an eye on Talent Middle School. Katie's keeping an eye on the high school, and we've connected with those schools to let them know we're here for them.
That's great.
I would say, I think the one, you know, the extra days for in-service in August was a great opportunity. Our certified staff were very busy in curriculum adoption and implementation. So we had this prime opportunity with classified staff. But now we really need to figure out how to kind of duplicate some of that stuff and make sure that our certified has the same information. I think that's a gap we have right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. And what's the biggest unmet need you're already seeing right now?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brent.
I just might add, when Tiffany and I were meeting with Carmen and Urbina from ODE, who was asking us about this grant, who will be forever indebted to, by the way, to ask us to be a part of this. They did really describe the 3-year process. And I think they think it's 3 months, but a 3-year process to get to where some of the things they've already said. And I think the reason why, the community care is being so successful is the people we put in place that are connected with the community already and are in our region. We are fortunate to have amazing partners. And so I'm super excited about this. I think we can share with the other 3 districts kind of where we land and what we're doing and how hard you're working and the systems you're creating. So it really was a 3-year kind of process to get to where some of these things are already up and running in 1 month. Also, Kelly mentioned that other grant that ODE received as well, which expands into the secondary level that hopefully has a community care specialist for our middle school and our high school, and expands that timeline to 5 years. So it's a game changer, if you ask me. So.
Don, go ahead.
Sorry, I thought of a question while you were talking. How are you involving the students? I know, like, especially like in high school, someone will tell their friend that I don't have any money. And I know the high school has been great doing fundraisers for leadership and coming up with, coats and that kind of stuff. So I know it kind of can be tricky because of that, but how are you planning to involve the students?
So that's one great thing about the trainings we did with classified is we asked them, what you're with the kids, what do you see? What do you think we should implement? And that actually came up and they were like, what if you had a QR code on a poster and you just put it in the bathrooms and they could refer themselves? And then they could just they don't have to go into detail. It could just be like mental health and wellness, basic needs. And then a trusted adult can go, someone who's trained can just discreetly talk to them more about it. Hey, you filled this out. What do you need? How can we help you? So we actually have talked about that. We haven't implemented it yet, just because, like I said, last Friday, we did the digital thing. We kind of want to pilot it out before we hand it out, but that's one idea that we're hoping to implement soon.
I was in the bathroom today at SOU and they had something very similar in there. And so you probably are going off of their
They must have gotten that idea from there somewhere similar. Yeah.
Captive audience.
Yeah.
We also, it was on one of this also can be an expansion of the Rising Lockers, which has been a wonderful support at each of the schools. And thinking about expanding that Rising Locker opportunity in a resource center, where also can be known as a resource center where someone can go for support, or they can go for a friend that needs support. There's maybe a method for that space there too.
Yeah. The training we took, they actually talked about what was it, youth support specialist. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I haven't talked about to you yet because we're doing a billion things, but that would be something maybe for phase 2 if we get that grant for secondary, to have someone there to take that training and support our youth. Yeah.
So this is a really important detail I want to make sure I understand. You can presently support all students at all levels. What do you mean when you say elementary expanding to secondary?
Well, that's exactly the question we asked from ODE in the grant. And luckily, the ODE is flying the plane as they're building it. So we have them housed at the elementary and they know we need middle school and high school support. And they say that's just fine. So, and now when this expanded grant comes to fruition, I think we'll get some funding for that. Then we will actually have some dedicated staffing and resources. So.
And to go off of that, I've already had some kids, I have a kid at elementary, middle, and high school level. So I've already had a kid that I was working with the family, and then I realized, oh, they have a sibling in the middle school and this is going to affect them. I need to give them a heads up too. So even if it was oh no, just elementary, I think it would be very difficult to just do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Additional question. So when you get the funding, now, but my question is, what does the funding cover? What does it cover specifically? I mean, there's a lot of needs,
right?
And I'm trying to think of, besides wonderful resource and connecting points, which is huge. What does it actually cover?
Sure. So staffing for one. I mean, we have staffing wrapped up in this grant. It's $1 million grant over the next 3 years. Also a number of supplies. And I think that's flexible, and Kelly would know more about how we can share, okay, we need this resource for our families. Is this allowable for the grant? And there's certain things that may not be allowable. But that's what is really amazing about the opportunities that we have in this district, is trying to leverage all the funding we have. I don't think there's something, well, if there is something that we can't find a funding source for, we point them to United Way, we point them to other resources that can have that, that we have strong partnerships with. So I don't know if that answered your question, but staffing is big, and then a multitude of supplies and resources and support and time dedicated to creating these programs.
I have a quick question again, sorry. So if a community member, and this has happened in the past, and I usually go straight to Tiffany, but if someone says, hey, we have $1,000, we can buy supplies, do I send them now to you guys? And is that what I should do? Because I mean, I know this sounds weird, but I'll randomly get a text on, we want to give the school $1,000 on, but it has to be like supplies or something. So would that be something useful for me to start going towards you guys for that?
Well, I will always say yes, give us the money, but I might look to Tiffany or Brent and say, who would you like to take the money? But I think kind of this coordination of funds and services is something that we're kind of trying to sort through already. So I think that would just be another part of the sorting through the funding sources to maximize the opportunity.
Thank you.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of interest and support from the board. And I just want to say, I love what you're doing. I want to encourage you to continue to be bold. Pace yourselves, but continue to be bold, because our families who don't have houses or who have unmet needs don't have 3 years. And so I appreciate the feverish pace that you're working at. And please keep us posted. And I know Brent will, on anything that we can do to support. But certainly we can help spread the word for sure. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next item is the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Brent, did you double check that the K policy, the conditional policy was out of this K section before we consent agenda? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Sarah.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All right. Sarah moves, Don seconds. Any objections?
I wanted to see an exception on one of them,
Okay.
KGBB. We could set that aside.
I don't think it's in there. I think it was in an error, Rick, and it's not there.
Okay.
Anymore. Yeah.
That's what Director Crawford was just asking. KGBB is not in this consent agenda.
Okay.
That'll be for a later date. Yeah.
And I apologize, I should have used the correct letters or title of the policy instead of being so general.
It's okay. Now that we got that cleared up, any objections? All right. Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. Now we'll move to action items. The first is appoint budget committee members. Do I hear a motion to appoint our budget committee applicants?
I move to approve Sarah Adams and Roland Frischman, I believe, to Phoenix Talent School Budget Committee.
I'll second it.
Moved by Dawn, seconded by Polly. Any discussion? I don't have any but to say thank you to Sarah and Roland for their continued service. And we'll take it to a vote. Polly,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Dawn.
Yes.
I vote yes, motion passes. Next, we have the budget committee calendar.
I move to approve the fiscal year 23-24 budget calendar as presented.
I second that.
Thank you. Moved by Polly, seconded by Nancy. Any discussion? All right. Polly,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes. All right. Information and discussion. Facilities and bond. I think that's you again, right, Brent?
Yep, no update since last time.
Okay, thank you. Financial update?
I mean, I think we need to just keep it in the forefront. There's, I mentioned last time about the revenue forecast. This legislative session is going to be more important than ever. And I feel like we say that every legislative session, but this one, there's going to be a false sense of windfall of dollars for K-12. And it's critical that we get the state school fund up to, quality education model would be great, but to continue to rise near that. So that's all I have.
Brent, could you remind me, is it 9.8 we're trying to get to? They came out with, can you just clarify the numbers?
I'll have to. We meet next week actually with COSA, and so I would hate to put out a number there until I find out for sure from COSA. And then we do have, what might be the next item about OSBA is going to come down too as well. So.
Any other questions on financials? All right. Good to know. Thank you. Legislative OSBA update. Who wants to start?
So, there was a flyer, I think, about the upcoming legislative roadshow with the date October, I think it's October 24th. I can look at my calendar really quick. So let Denise know to RSVP and really try to make that meeting. I think Dawn and I are supposed to have significant roles, but we're learning what those roles might be. So we have a meeting next week, 20th, 21st, something, to actually talk about something that as a group, we talked about in roundtable about scheduling something after the election with newly elected legislators. So we're gonna try to squeeze in as much information as we can get about what prep they want us to have for the roadshow coming up. But it looks like the venue's been picked and the time, the date, so you can put that on your calendar. It's a really great time to connect with other school board members and with the election coming up. And then last night there was a town hall with Jeff Golden and Secretary of State Shamika. I guess how you say her name correctly. I apologize if I got that incorrectly. And I learned about performance audits. And there was a lot of talk about voters mail by ballot voting and just what's in the national news. But just put in another plug, and I agree with what Brent said in talking with Senator Golden. There seems to be this mentality of K through 12 has all the resources needed based on one-time funding. And to be fair, there's also many programs that need additional funding that one-time funding went to try to backfill. But so I think it could be helpful once we get those numbers to maybe have a list of talking points as we're in this, so that we sound intelligent and understanding of what we're advocating for when we're talking to those around. So that's what I have.
Thank you.
I'll just add a little bit to that. So just to clarify, we're going to have two meetings, one about the legislation roadshow and one about starting the process of having our regional legislators. Just, I think Sarah said it well, but I just wanted to clarify. Second, I was on Rural Schools Committee today. We are planning to, there's going to have one of the workshops at OSBA is going to be about rural schools. And we're narrowing down what the identifications of a rural school is going to be. Originally, we were going to do self-identification, but I think that is not going to work out well, especially since schools have to vote on it. And I think some people are worried that some people would take advantage of that extra voice. And so Emily, the chair for this committee, and OSBA went through and they gave us different data facts. And so I think we're going to do it by density of the school district population. There's a couple that may be iffy. And so there's also going to be an appeals process. So if you still feel your rural schools, but you don't make the qualifications, then there'll be an appeals process. So for us, we're included with Medford. So we still made it, but that would be a situation where if a school, Three Rivers, for example, was close because they're all over, I would consider some of the Three Rivers schools rural, but since they're connected with Grants Pass, the data on that. So we're making sure that a school can say, hey, look, this is why, and we can make an exceptions for schools that do have the need to have that voice that are similar to the challenges that rural schools have. And pretty soon, once the committee gets a little bit further, we'll start having meetings, and anyone that's identified as a rural school from the description that we come up with, then anyone from that district can come to the meeting. So if you are on this board, you could come as long as there wasn't more than 3 people, or Three Rivers or Prospect or any of those could start coming to those meetings.
Awesome. Thank you. Also, we are registering for the OSBA conference, right? So has everyone gotten back to you on whether they're attending or not? We're going to put everyone on the spot right now. You like that? Oh, okay. So just a reminder, if you haven't yet told Denise whether you're attending or not, please do, because we definitely want to make arrangements, and we can get you there however you need to get there. So that is November 11th through the 13th.
And Denise has made arrangements already for everybody and hotel, so it's easier to cancel than, because they just
Perfect.
opened up those rooms
Great.
yesterday.
Good job.
So
Thank you. And I just signed your nomination for
Paperwork.
OSBA board. So thanks for doing that again. Okay, great. Anything else on legislative or OSBA? Okay, Almeda Fire update. Any updates?
do you have anything?
Holly?
I'll go. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I have something that I learned about this past weekend. I went to 2 of the Alameda fires that was mentioned earlier. In fact, I saw you there in Talent. In Talent in the morning, there was a commemoration event, and there was also one that was moved from Blue Heron Park to the high school. And I was just so glad that we had that ability to go there and use our facilities. That was huge. And I actually was leaving at the same time that Pam Marsh was leaving, and her and I were commenting about the feeling and the atmosphere of the weather and the way things were that day. It was feeling very fiery outside, and I'm glad that we were inside and not observing those things around to remind us, that. I did go in the morning specifically looking for something that I had found on social media, which I've talked to Brent a little bit about it, but I didn't know very much about it. But there is a group that is led by Salinas Garcia and Eric Ledesma, who have purchased, they have a group together, and they've purchased one of the mobile parks in Talent, and they're bringing a bunch of families back to Talent. And I'm so excited about this. And I'm hoping that maybe we can get a program report from them and what they're doing to work to bring that back. So I'm really excited about that.
Is that the community owned park? Is that the community?
Nancy's gonna say in her mic what that's called. Because I don't wanna,
You can try.
I can try.
Try it.
I think it's the Coalition for Talent, but, right?
No.
No. See,
I mean,
Well,
I
no,
say
I'm
no
saying-
because you just made something.
I just, well, I don't know. Okay, I'll do it.
You can try.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
This
Then
is
you're
how
gonna
we
help.
learn.
I love
know.
the growth mindset that's happening.
I'm not
This
afraid
is
to say
good.
it, but I just, well, it's like
I know.
Coalition for Talenza.
Coalición Fortaleza.
See what she said. Thank you. I know.
love it. I love it.
Anyway, I am excited about this. The other reason I'm excited about this, both of these people who are doing this are graduates of
From
Phoenix High
Phoenix High
School,
School
which
District.
makes me even more happy about it. So.
Thank you. Jeff.
I'll just also thank the team for having a presence at those events. There is an event here this weekend here at this school from 11 to 3, put on by the city of Phoenix as well. And so, yeah, and it was great to transition into that high school where it was air conditioned and it just felt good. And that was a lot of great resources and good setup. So appreciate John and his crew for getting on it that morning.
All right. Thank you all very much. Thank you for attending that and for being present at these events. It's important. So thank you so much. I plan on going this Saturday, making an appearance. And yeah, it's important for our community to come together, commemorate and acknowledge how far we've come and acknowledge the work still ahead. We heard the housing need. So very good. Okay. Enrollment report, Mr. Barry.
Yeah, in your blue folders, you'll see the most updated numbers as of this morning. And overall, you'll see a little bit of an increase, which is great. We do have some things to still sort out. We have, at the secondary level, we're still connecting with kids and families. And if we haven't had kids show up, we're making sure we're calling, but we've been way more intentional with that this year with the middle school and the high school. So that number is definitely in single digits for that. So, and we're hoping they come back. They may be enrolled in other places, but that number, we will start out higher than last year. The last 2 years, I'm pretty confident at the high school. You'll notice I just want to point out some other things. We do have some significant jumps at Town Elementary, Orchard Hill, but you'll see that the PTRA is down. And I think those kids a lot of times went back to those schools in person as we have a little bit more normal start than typical. I do want to, and thank you, Denise, for kind of putting both these reports together. I want to, well, first of all, thank a couple, Heather and Michael, that have kindergartners, because we are down in kindergarten from the last 2 years. If you just look at the numbers, and we were approximately 190 2 years ago, 172 last year, and we have 153 kindergartners right now. And so talking to my fellow superintendents around the valley, that is the norm. I think people are really wondering what's happening there. And but I just want to caution us about that. But overall, super excited. I really am looking forward to when we have all the data on the interdistrict transfers coming in and coming out. I think we are favoring very well in that regard as well. And that's all I have. I'll entertain any questions.
Questions for Brent about the enrollment?
I have a question about how, I'm loving that we're able to have kids back in the building, but I know that the online academy really does help fit families' needs. So I don't know, how can we grow that? What numbers do we need to be able to keep it successful? Is this too early to be asking those questions?
I think it's fair to ask, and I think there's a lot of things that go into that. And I know Erin has reached out and sent letters to our current families that are enrolled in online academies throughout the state. There's a number of them. I do feel like when word gets out and how much we connect with Talent Maker City, we have another partnership with hands-on activities. you're right. We did reduce that. We took one of the FTE teachers and put them in a traditional classroom here at Phoenix Elementary, I think. And so I think it's a valid question. I think we'll have to look at that and see where we are as we move forward. A good question.
I was excited to see we were only 150 down. I mean, I felt like that. I was excited to see that. I was holding my breath a little bit to see where we were. And so I was excited to see. I mean, not excited to see,
No,
but
I agree. I felt that just looking at the numbers the last couple of weeks and signing a bunch of incoming transfers. And so it's nice to see it on paper and in reality. I will also say Aaron does a lot more than be the principal at a school of 25. So he is actually coordinating this whole integrated care stuff that we did today. So I just wanted to put a plug in for that, Aaron.
Good thing, because I have some suggestions. No, I'm just kidding. The good news is he has another job. So no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. He's still doing it, so he must be pretty good at it too. All right. Any more questions on enrollment? Yeah, I mean, that's obviously what jumped out at me is PTRA. So we'll be definitely anxious to see how that turns out. All right. Student representative appointment process discussion. Should we have dismissed staff before this one? This might take a little bit.
I was thinking about that, but I think we need high school.
Yeah, we might need Caitlin. Sorry, Caitlin.
Or we could, or everybody.
Or
may-
everyone else might want to get your popcorn ready. Okay.
Aaron with his 26 students can stay.
Yeah. Poor Aaron. Okay. Student representative appointment process discussion. Where do we want to start with this? I'll just open the floor and
I might just say that we have started advertising this in our school, and Kaylin has a process with her team to do that. So that is starting, and we'd welcome any other ideas or some outreach from the board to come on in during the common time to chat about it as well.
so as of now, the plan is that we will interview students at the next meeting. That's the plan.
As
Or on
yes,
the 6th?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So any other,
There's an open house on Monday. Should we have something happening because of that? The parents are there to coerce people to do such a thing. Just saying.
I hear Polly volunteering for a breakout session.
I'm planning on not a breakout session, but I would go do a table. I might be a little bit late, but so I need a partner in crime.
Sarah will
So,
join you.
Sarah, Monday, it starts at 5, correct? But 5:45.
And go because my wife will be working and I have to watch the kids. So
Oh,
And
you're gonna be dad. You're
they're
not
gonna be in
babysitting.
bed. They're gonna be
Yeah.
in bed.
I have a Monday meeting at 6:30, so I can come for a little while, but I'd have to bug out about 6:20.
I'd be glad to go there.
Okay, well, talk to Caitlin first because she might have it under control.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she's telling you can come. so
Yeah.
you can- All right. Always
I
inviting
want us
herself.
to
to your-
decide where the schools we're gonna adopt, and I'm already putting my vote in to be at the high school. So maybe I can win that.
schools you're gonna adopt for.
Like as a board member, we talked about being assigned to different schools.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably because I have special interests over there too. So
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Okay, so Kaylin, what process are you using to advertise the opportunity to be a student rep to the board? Since you've started this, I'll just.
Kelly, can you have that mic right there?
If I stand close enough, it does. So right now, actually, Chris and I are meeting tomorrow to talk about making sure we are advertising on PHTV. We air that every advisory. We also have these really fancy high-tech TVs in our hallways that are now up and working. And so we'll have it there rotating. We're also looking at our social media platforms, our leadership actually runs the official PHS Instagram, which a lot of our students are tied into, and they just did a Instagram rush today to make sure kids are connected to those. So those are like our three main components. We also have like overhead announcements and all that stuff. So we've printed applications. Thank you, Denise, for getting the editable piece over to me. And so we'll be ready to roll with those first thing on Monday.
So I guess that means we're going with the same application as we used last year, which we had talked a little bit about potentially tweaking.
Yeah, so I think this is a good time. Does the board have any suggestions on?
I can reprint.
application?
It was literally, I just pushed the button. And it was very easy. I can redo that. Should we need to make edits?
I think, yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, go ahead. I want to hear what you think.
I remember being okay with it, but I remember there's also ways that we could potentially make it better. And I want to say something about not asking about extracurriculars, or there was, Nancy, I remember that you had comments about it. Do you remember?
I do not remember, but if, is it accessible, that application? I'm a visual person, so it's helpful if we can pull it up and go over the questions. Thank you. In the meantime, no rush, Denise. In the meantime, what are some other questions or things that we want to discuss beyond?
Well,
We also talked about potentially changing the question for interview
Yeah.
or the process with that, and then just having an understanding of how selecting, and then how, are we going to do a rubric? Are we going to let them know at the time if they're coming to interview at the next meeting? This is right, the time where we're having all of those great conversations. So we're not having them while they're sitting there and we're figuring it out. As Michael
Yes.
creates a form really quick for
Yeah.
us to do point.
Okay,
Look at
thank you.
that. Because Denise.
So it's in there, and I would encourage us for the application, we can give, I think it's interesting, right? Because there's areas where I think we can be very specific in what we want, and there's areas that I think we need to let staff and the school manage. So if there's a overall directive you have for the application, such as, making sure that it's inclusive, things like that, I think that's great. And then, yeah, I very much would like us to nail down the interview process and the selection process tonight if we can. So that's
We took off
done.
That's what happened. Okay. There's only one expectation on here, and that is that that I'm seeing, and that's that you attend all board meetings. So are we providing a board meeting calendar with this application? So there's an understanding of those dates.
Yes, I printed that and it's on the backside.
Perfect. Thank you.
But that's an interesting request because we've had students that can't participate at every board meeting because they're participating in school events. So it's incongruent for us to set that expectation as students are out with other.
I think that's a good point. And I think another thing we've talked about is how many student reps do we want? So how many? And then the interview and the selection process are things I think we need to.
And I think
have in
we
place.
talked about last year, having it be only open to 10th through 12th graders. Okay, just wanted to clarify on that. And one of the key, I would say, takeaways from the OSBA student representative workshop that both Polly and Michael and I attended at the summer conference was really trying to find a student who can engage different groups. And so is there a way to put that in an expectation of that they would be providing a report and we'd like to see them doing that. And I think in the past, Toby had an interview kind of conversation with them, and I'm not sure if that's part of the process that you were thinking about, but that's something that came up this last time.
I can absolutely do that. I wonder too, since I'm new to this piece of it, I know one of the things that we've done in my previous position, or making sure that when we were interviewing, I know that we took out the question for extracurricular activities, but sometimes that's a good indicator as to like what peer group the student associates with. So we can make sure we are, maybe we have someone who's involved in athletics, but we also have someone who maybe is involved in something else. And so I know sometimes that's a good indicator, but I can definitely have that conversation with students.
Maybe I just need a little bit of clarity. So what is the purpose of the conversations with students, with you versus students filling out an application?
I would assume that it would just be me encouraging
Oh,
students who have different like peer groups. Like, hey, it's very important that our board gets an understanding of the students that you hang out with or your peer group. So I would really encourage you to apply versus just like a, the typical leadership student or the typical ASB officer.
And I really do appreciate that call out, because I think in the past, some folks have had this idea like, well, we want this kind of kid. And I think that that's the beauty of inviting a variety of different kiddos who have such different experiences, valid in their own right. And they have like deep knowledge, or they're deeply integrated within those groups that can really provide strong representation versus just like the typical kids that get recognition and acknowledgement because they're in those spaces. So thank you.
Yeah, I also wonder if I can ask too, like about your screening process, your application process, even though someone might not be articulate at a public forum like this, we have a lot of students who are very articulate in other ways.
Yes.
So how could someone who's part of this group, who's not gifted in that way or not as confident, still be someone who serves their peer group?
I love that question.
We have had student representatives to the board who I would say early on struggled with that, but by the end of the school year gained confidence in that. And I don't know, other than going through some of that process, how, we really try to create a safe space and hopefully not be scary. The other thing that I don't see on here, and maybe it was talked about, or how the interview process. So that might be something to answer questions about, in addition to the application, is what does the interview process with the board look like? And then clear on how we'll choose and do that. So I would say having Kaylin have that information in case anyone has questions, or Polly when she goes to the open house.
So maybe that can be part of the conversation that we have around like the scoring, right? That is not something that a student gets scored or judged or dinged on. Like their public speaking skills. There's a lot of folks that are incredibly talented, but maybe public speaking isn't necessarily a strength of theirs yet. So maybe that can be part of like the review versus, and for us to have an equal understanding on what that rubric will look like, or what is it that the students are being evaluated on.
Do you have one that you used previously? We did. How did we did 1 through 5, right? And then
So it
summary
was-
total?
Yeah, but it was not based on any criteria. It was just who were your choices, and then we ranked them. So that was good for this, selection process, but it wasn't necessarily, didn't give any weight to one aspect of their application or their interview. But I think that's definitely worth. Seems like we need a rubric and goals, maybe. Okay, Rebecca?
sorry, I strongly suggest that we don't share the results in front of everybody, because I know that last year that was something that a lot of the representatives had commented on about us changing and fixing, was because it was just kind of right out there with everybody, like, you got it and you didn't. And just figuring out a different way to do that.
I'm a little concerned about that though. Just putting out my 2 cents. Part of this process is to get the kids, if that are interested, maybe on going on into politics. And I know we've had some members before that wanted to go on to county commissioners and city councils and stuff. And that's how city councils and county commissioners. So my concern is, I understand the process and that it may not, it's difficult and struggle for the kids, but also the other part of me is part of a school board member is I'm trying to prepare students for future successes. And so by changing this, am I then not benefiting some of the successes if a student wanted to go? Because some of them might be 18 and wanted to go on Phoenix City Council, then they might be expecting a different process than what is reality. Does that make sense? So that's my only concern, is if this is a learning experience for them to move forward in public service, then maybe, I don't know, I'm just conflicted with that. I just wanted to put that out there.
And I agree with Dawn. I think that there's an understanding when you put in an application for something that there's a limited amount of spots, and you're going to understand that who is and who isn't. So I had a conversation with Lisa Robin, is that her name? Thank you. The leadership teacher, about what the process was for ASB and for leadership elections, because it's already a process that's familiar for the students. And she said that they've done it different ways, different times. They've brought in the group together and said, you know, you guys are the ones that have won the spot, kind of thing. And then they brought in those who weren't together and said, but then also followed that up with other opportunities to serve on equity committee, on what was the other suggestion, Brent, that you had? Student investment account. So there were other opportunities to serve in representing voice in the school to other committees as well. So presenting it in that way. And then they did kind of the big announcement over the loudspeaker, but the students knew. And so I liked that because it gave the opportunity to have the conversation about other avenues versus the awkward, and now you're out and you don't really know. Yeah, I heard there were other opportunities, but what are they and where do I go to find out about them? So I appreciated that format for that reason.
I think one thing we didn't do last time, and maybe we did and I don't remember it, but set it up at the beginning of the meeting when we're going through this process up front, that this is how we're going to do this tonight. So everyone in the room understands what the process is, so they know what to expect while they're there. So instead of just, maybe why it fell last time is because we didn't really set up what was going to happen. And that's the first time we've ever seen any of these folks in our board meeting and they have no clue what we do. So maybe we could set it up a little bit better at the beginning of that meeting.
Chair, there's also no timeline on this. Actually, last year we did interview our student reps during the day meeting, which is also breaking down barriers of attending a night meeting, but knowing that the understanding is that they're going to be needing to attend evening meetings on twice a month. But there is, and I'm hearing a few things. So I may suggest if we do not have settled on a rubric or really want to look at the application, is pausing this and potentially have a work session before the next school board meeting to iron all this out, and then plan on doing the interviews during the day meeting, like similar to what we did last year, whatever process that might
When
be.
is that day meeting again?
the
October
20th.
I would totally agree with that and figure out how many reps we need and those
Yeah.
extra positions, and we have those all lined up and rolled up when we get there.
Yeah. Selfishly, I won't be here on the 6th, and I'd love to be a part of the process of selecting the student rep. So selfishly, I'd be in favor of pushing it back a little bit, but I will defer to the majority if that works for everyone.
The day meeting's the 20th, and that's the one that you won't be at.
I won't be at the 6th.
So the day meeting's the 20th.
Yeah, we're talking about
so
moving it back.
moving it,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. How does that sound to everybody? Because we have some time.
I'm in favor of that. I think that there's a lot of maybe different understandings about this process. And it feels like we're very unprepared and, you know, we're trying to create something right away without maybe having that thought. Yeah, so I appreciate the suggestion to just push it back, because if we don't have clarity about what we're expecting and what our hopes are, I think it makes it really difficult for students to feel successful. And it's not just a responsibility of the students, but really the responsibility from us and the partnership that we have with the high school to really make this a successful experience for students versus like nicking students or making assumptions on what they're going to do by their participation here. So I would feel a lot more comfortable if we pushed it back or pushed it further, however that's said.
So this is just a suggestion. I agree with what everyone else said, is pushing it back. However, I really like the input of students that we get from the groups, and I feel like the middle school gets it, and then the high school would be two to 3 years where they haven't been able to have. And it would be kind of nice for those that were putting in their application to set through that process and kind of before we have the interview. So if we had the students come in and chat, this is just a suggestion, and do our regular program report with the students and the reps that were going to interview, it might make them more comfortable if they see this process, because these meetings are kind of like stringent at night, but our day meetings are a little bit more relaxed, I feel like, and we give input and back to the students, and I think it might help their comfort zone versus. So my suggestion, if we could possibly do it, because it makes it a long meeting, would be to do a program report with the students, and then later, because you wouldn't want their peers to be, then later in the meeting have the student interviews, and then we would be more prepared. That's just my suggestion.
So you're saying in the meeting on the 20th, go through the board meeting and then interview the students at the end of the meeting?
Well, somewhere after we do the program. I don't.
Oh, okay.
My concern was in the past when we've interviewed students, that has been part of the program report. And I feel that program report for me is very valuable information, especially when I'm going. It's a great time because we're going to November conference, and then and then legislation is coming, and then I can help advocate. So I feel like that's an important piece at an important time, and I don't want to replace that with interviews. Does that make sense, like we did in the past?
Okay.
So I know it pushes the date back, but what if we asked any interested students to sit in on the day meeting and we just had a regular board meeting so that they could see just an entire board meeting from start to finish, and we could engage and maybe set expectations or answer questions, give them an opportunity to do that, and then give them the opportunity to put in the application and then interview at the next board meeting.
I feel like they could sit in at the next board meeting, because I feel like if it was them trying to sit in at the day meeting, they have school, so it might be difficult for them to even make it there. I'm pretty sure it's at Talon Elementary next for the day meeting. Is it at the high school? Okay. But just, it would interrupt their schoolwork. If they sat in for the meeting that we're having next on the 6th, and then we can do the interview process on the 20th. I think that makes more sense.
Something that popped in my head was, what if the interview was a 1-minute student rep report? And that was the interview. I don't know. I think we have a lot to figure out. So the next question is, when can we do a work session to hash all of this out? It can be virtual too, by the way. We could do that. Do you have an idea on that, Brent?
What's the timeline again? We want to, okay.
So that's what we're trying to figure out sometime between.
I think fairly soon, because it'll adjust Kalen's advertising, and I mean, they could certainly say, watch for school rep or student rep to the school board, news coming soon next week. But if we can get something going in the next week or so, that would be great to at least have an agenda and find out what we need to share with students. And we can certainly get resources that we don't have to recreate the wheel. And you guys saw those at summer conference.
How's next Thursday for everyone?
That works for me.
Are we talking evening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Just to clarify, is this going to be like a whole board work session or just a subcommittee?
That's a good question. What do you want to do? Whole board? I think the whole board.
I can't make it for the next couple of weeks, but it doesn't mean that you have to wait for me to be there. I'll send
Well,
suggestions.
You can send some. So here's what I was going to ask, is that everyone come prepared with a suggestion on the number of members, student reps, any suggestions on the interview itself, question or questions, and then a suggestion on the selection criteria. So Nancy, you could always send that in, because I certainly want to hear your voice too. Okay, so what time next Thursday, in person or virtually? We can meet we could just meet at the district office, or we could meet virtually.
Well, you could probably have both available. if
Yeah, we could
somebody
do a hybrid.
Hybrid then if it
Okay, so we'll plan an in-person meeting with.
is based on everyone's schedule to help not have a later evening for staff. What's the earliest evening? I don't know.
Yeah.
So earliest of the evening on Thursday.
Yeah. I can meet whenever.
So I would say 4 is the earliest I could do on Thursday, the 22nd.
Or work for everyone?
Yes. Yeah.
Brents and Denise will be happy about that. Okay.
Divine happy.
All right. Well, I'm sure they're thrilled for another meeting, but okay. Thursday, the 22nd, 4 o'clock. I'll figure all this stuff out. And hopefully we can put some things in place that will make this a little less reinvent the wheel-ish in the future. Because it's been, okay.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
Living.
And then when we codify that, we're going to put it in the board operating agreement so no one can change it. No, I'm just kidding.
There are
Okay.
some districts that have a policy
Yeah,
around this.
Yeah. Oh, we can talk about that next Thursday. Be there, be square. Okay. All right. The next item is
So we're going to ask Kaylin to not hand out any applications at this time, correct?
I think their Friday meeting just turned into stay tuned for student representative info.
See what happens when we get involved. All right. Okay. The draft agenda is there for your review for the 6th. And again, I won't be here, but Dawn will be highly capable of running that meeting, thankfully. So the one thing I'll point out is now we're into regular policy adoption. There are a number of policies for your consideration there through our regular process. The one thing I did ask of Denise is if it was a simple, for instance, we have some that are just an update to the legal reference and no change to the language at all. So if that was the case, or if it was a deletion, I asked her to just put those on the consent agenda. If there are policies that there are language changes, we'll have to consider those as action items. But if it was just a deletion or a very simple legal reference change or something, I asked her to put those on the consent agenda. So that won't happen until the 20th meeting, but all of those policies are there for your review.
I have a question on just a clarification.
Yeah.
I noticed on this meeting and the next meeting, there's no recess put in there. I don't know if you guys discussed that or if you're, so my question was, since I was gonna run the next meeting, is that up to the chair to go, oh, I think we need a break, or I was just curious.
Yeah, I think we're still figuring out board book for recess.
I did think about it. I felt pretty good about tonight's agenda that we would be okay without it. But by the way, if you ever need a recess, just get my attention and I'm happy to do that. So, but yes, thank you for bringing that up. That's a good point. Yeah, Rebecca.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So policy JFCJ wasn't adopted. It was tabled at our last meeting. I was just wondering when we were going to go over that one.
Yeah, thank you. Good question. We could bring that back on this meeting if you'd like. And I did get some clarification on JFCJ and its relationship to the other policy or lack thereof.
I would suggest do it the meeting you're going to be in, because I know that you did some research with
Yeah.
Spencer, and I don't know if I could comfortably fill
Sure.
in that spot.
So I'll put that on the 20th agenda too. It'll be a jam-packed meeting. It is a policy for students, so they'll be there too. Good. Great. This is good. Any other questions on the next agenda? Okay. You good?
Yeah.
All right. We're adjourned.
Thank you.